Given it's a little dreary on planet Earth at the moment, it's all but natural to look to the stars wistfully and dream of freedom. Starfield may just be the panacea for those seeking exotic worlds better than the one that we're standing on, but perhaps if we instead chill right here for another 54 years or so, we might stop dreaming and accept the glorious cyberpunk dystopia prophesized by CD Projekt Red. Whether you're a starry-eyed cosmonaut or aspiring gutterpunk, September has you covered. Read on to see what monthly mayhem has us tight in the jorts. Jordan touches down to say, I love a good sci-fi game. I mean, look, I am so starved for good space games that I willingly play Star Citizen. That is some serious copium. So it comes as no surprise that I am incredibly excited for Starfield. It looks like it shares a fair chunk of overlap with the aforementioned controversial Kickstarter space MMO, and I will always value a tightly designed single-player experience over said MMO. Sure, Bethesda has been on a downward trend for a while. You can only re-release Skyrim so many times, particularly on a Samsung fridge, but that doesn't mean that the studio is not able to produce some top-tier experiences. Mark steps out of that fridge to say, look, if you're a regular reader of this column, you'll know that I'm always shouting out the best indies. So let's start with Baldur's Gate 3. Now wait, Mark, that's an indie, you say? Well, technically yes, random reader who just asked that question, but you could call it an AAA indie, an A indie if you must, but the fact that Larian Studios went from well-respected RPG developer that nearly folded to now practically owning 2023 in the same year as a Zelda game, that is certainly no mean feat. Impatiently, I waited for the PS5 release as all my friends boast about their steamy digital sex laws. But the wait is almost over for console-loving me, so sorry, PC Master Race. I'm eager to get some work in creating the ultimate bard, and you better believe he'll sing you to death if you cross him. There's also a bumper crop of titles to follow across the rest of the month, led by another potentially big-name indie in Lies of P, coming to us from an otherwise unknown team of dedicated Dark Souls lovers straight out of South Korea. I've got my fingers crossed this is going to deliver, if only because I love the underdog story of a development team no one has heard of making big bank. Likewise, I have high hopes for Cocoon, another Annapurna published beauty no doubt, and Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which technically came out on Switch last month but hits everywhere else in September, and my Jet Set Radio sequel aspirations are all the happier for it. Zach also wandered in to say, you don't need to tell me that September is jam-packed with games you don't have enough time to play. There are a few that I'll be making time for though, with The Crew Motorfest kicking things off. I've always been a fan of Ubisoft's open world racer, and I'm keen to see what changes Motorfest brings, especially after our positive hands-on preview. And then call me crazy, but Payday 3 is one of my most anticipated games of the year, just because of the fun factor it brings. I have been craving a console game I can play with my mates every now and then. Damn you, GTFO! And all things point to call Payday that game. Nathan rummages around to say, look, this old boy has had a recent PC upgrade, and I can't wait to see some glorious worlds rendered within. Cyberpunk 2077 is asking for a second chance, with huge improvements across the board arriving with its upcoming Phantom Liberty expansion. I also want to see if the aging tools behind Starfield still have what it takes to impress and strike awe as they did with Skyrim a decade ago. And then mostly for team morale, Payday 3 should get a bit of attention here at Well Played. Whether the co-op heist game has all the pizzazz to remain competitive in this crowded multiplayer space is my key concern. But on the other end of the spectrum is the Pinocchio Souls-like Lies of P. I thought this game was an industry joke, but I keep reading headlines suggesting this may be the closest we get to more Bloodborne. Huge if true. And then me, Ash. I am a gentle soul. For some reason I hunger for blood and dated 80s film properties. Those things sustain me, uplift me, arouse me. Oh, nope, strike that last one. But they do excite me, and September offers me both these things, starting with a big old bucket of blood, courtesy of the latest entry into the Mortal Kombat mythos, Mortal Kombat 1. Yeah, they really did call the 12th Mortal Kombat game number 1. Okay. But real talk, thanks to a healthy injection of wibbly-wobbly time bullshit, we get to enjoy a whole new timeline full of familiar faces that are rejuvenated and refreshed and ready to get bruised and beaten in new and exciting ways. The folks at NetherRealm understand that the very nature of a fighting game will always be conflict, obviously, so finding creative ways to incite it will likely form the backbone of their sure-to-be stellar cinematic story. And when I grow bored of that, cartoonishly gory finishing moves will always keep me engaged. Then, to deliver on my odd addiction for the 1980s film franchises, Taeon is still promising that RoboCop Rogue City is expected in September, and the ponderous and brutal shooter looks like some kind of kryptonite to the expectations of modern-day FPS players, with its deliberate pace laughing in the face of all the sprinting, sliding, and wall running that's going on nowadays. Wait, never mind. That's been delayed until November. Well, thank Christ it's not in October. I guess I'll check out Starfield then. That looks kinda neat. Then Adam picks up Player 2's controller to say, I am terrible at fighting games. Does that stop Tekken 3 from being one of my favourite games from my childhood? Absolutely not. Has it stopped my partner and I getting way too excited for every Mortal Kombat release since Mortal Kombat 9? Definitely not. Will we be getting stuck into the Mortal Kombat 1 energy in September, punching, kicking, and disemboweling, and decapitating, and eviscerating each other until the sun swallows the earth? You bet your ass. The resetting of the Mortal Kombat universe gives this new entry a really exciting energy, and the 3D era characters are getting their time in the spotlight, so bring on the guts and gore, I say. The other game making blips on my radar couldn't be further from the blood and viscera. Cocoon is a gorgeous puzzle game that lets you play as a teeny tiny little beetle that can pick up and carry entire cosmic realms on its back, entering and exiting them on a whim to further progress. Well, I mean, maybe there's a few similarities. That's kind of terrifying now that I think about it. Existential dread aside, I've been waiting on Cocoon since it was revealed, so I'll be all too happy to beetle about in the coming weeks. Rounding out the rest of September, we have DLC coming for both Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, with the hidden treasure of Area Zero Part 1, the Teal Mask, have a longer title why don't you, coming out to Switch. It's bringing some old school favourites and a new mythos to play around with the mythology of Pokemon, so I'm sure anyone who enjoyed those games is going to enjoy an expanded experience. Disney Speedstorm Mario Karts it up, legally distinctly races in a kart, coming across basically every modern console, so if you really want to get your burnout going as Mickey, that's available to you as well. And Witchfire is still showing some promise as a very interesting little title that sort of came out of nowhere, but still looks impressive considering we've had a lot of Magic-based games this year. And that is the smorgasbord that is September, with the monolithic October simply looming on the horizon. Take your time to enjoy a simpler time before everything becomes a great deal more complicated. For all of your news and impressions and just general opinions, make sure to keep your eyes on well-play.com.au, and we'll see you in the very next one.